Hello and welcome to 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐴 Bundesliga Matchday 31, and as you can see in the screen also the Pokal SemiFinals. We are going to analyze all the games that we have in Germany this week. We have a champion. We knew it maybe even in August that the champion was going to be Bayern Munich. What we didn't know is how spectacular they were during the season, breaking all the records, Ronan. And now the eyes are on the Champions League next week, but also in the Pokal, because it's been a while without seeing Bayern Munich lifting this trophy. Last time was in 2020.
Yeah, they haven't even been in the final since 2020. So, yeah, it's been a while since Bayern Munich have been there, and they're hoping to get back to the final and hoping to win the treble this season. So everything seems on target at the moment for Vincent Kompany and company.
Exactly. They are in the way of doing the treble. Let's analyze the odds and the games we have this week in Germany. So, guys, stay with us. Let me know in the comments what you think about these games. And now let's go on with the show. And we have two great semi-finals on Wednesday. The first one is Bayer Leverkusen, Bayern Munich. Leverkusen won this trophy a couple of years ago, and this has been a very bumpy season. And I would say a really bad season, because it's going to be very difficult for them to play Champions League football next season. So the only way to save the season would be reaching the final and perhaps winning the trophy in the Pokal. But of course, as you can see in the odds, it's going to be very difficult. Ronan, it's almost impossible to bet against Bayern Munich. If you want to be positive, optimistic as a Leverkusen fan, they drew in the Bundesliga this season at home, 1-1 in the Bayer Arena. And perhaps Bayern Munich are thinking in PSG, are still celebrating with a lot of beer the trophy. Could be.
They didn't have the beer celebrations this weekend. They're keeping them until the end of the season. And there was a lot of talk about 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴 not getting involved in the celebrations, but I think he's just a very low-key sort of guy. So he didn't want to put on the special T-shirt they had made with the bird on it that they had made for the title celebration. So I think the title celebrations are on hold until they win this match, they win the PSG match. But like you said, maybe the PSG match will be the match they're focused on more. But Bayern Munich have a deep squad, so they should be able to play these games. The match at the weekend, obviously they can rotate everybody for that in the Bundesliga, because the Bundesliga is wrapped up. So yeah, Bayern Munich, they will be going all out, because like I said, it's 6 years since they won the DFB Pokal, so they'll be looking to get their names back on the cup. And Bayer Leverkusen, yeah, it's the kind of thing that could save their season. It's the kind of thing that will be memorable, because they've only won the cup twice before in their history. 2024 was only the second time they ever won it. They won it back in 1993 when they bought the East Germans. They had Ulf Kirsten and Andreas Thom back then, back when they were trying to buy all of East Germany after the wall came down. So yeah, it's that long ago since they kind of tasted success, or they were one of the best clubs in Germany, and they wanted to be that again, but it didn't look like it went that way this season. So yeah, the DFB Pokal must be Leverkusen's kind of main objective at the moment. Like you said, it was 1-1 in the Bundesliga last month, so that should give Leverkusen some sort of optimism that they can do something. But Bayern have won 12 of the last 22 meetings in this. The most common result, though, is a 1-2, and the most common result in Leverkusen is a 1-1, like we said it was last month. So Leverkusen Asian handicap plus 1.25 doesn't look too bad. Maybe they can keep it close, because like we're thinking Bayern Munich will be looking at that match next week rather than this specific match. So yeah, Leverkusen could keep it close, but I think Bayern Munich will still win. They could win by 1 goal, and that'll be enough. They'll be happy for that. So 167 looks pretty good for a Bayern Munich win any time they play any team in Germany.
All right, 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴 is sharing a bet builder for this game. Bayern to win, both teams to score over 3.5 goals, and Harry Kane to score 2 goals. I guess the odds are quite high, although it's apart from the Harry Kane 2 goals, which is still doable. The other things are good, in my opinion, like 1-3, 1-2. For Bayern Munich could be the case. And the other semi-final is Stuttgart Freiburg, the Stuttgart are the title holders. Remember, they won the cup last season against Kaiserslautern. They are doing a great season. They are almost qualified for the Champions League, despite the defeat against Bayern, as we expected last week. And also, it's been a great season for Freiburg, especially in the KO tournaments, alive in the Europa League. They played the final in 2022, and they are big underdogs in these second semifinals.
Yeah, they've never won the trophy. One runners-up in the history of the DFB Pokal, so huge outsiders in this. And Stuttgart, obviously, they've won it 4 times, including last year, like I said, against Arminia Bielefeld. But yeah, this Stuttgart team should be good enough to beat Freiburg, because we've seen it in the league how good they have been this season. They beat Kiel 3-0 in the semi-finals, whereas Freiburg needed penalties to beat Hertha, or in the quarterfinals to beat Hertha Berlin. So yeah, Stuttgart are just 90 minutes away from the final, 90 minutes away, or 180 minutes away from another trophy. They won 1-0 in this match at home in February. Freiburg surprisingly have the advantage in the last 16 games in the head-to-head, with 8 games won, but the most common result in Stuttgart is a 1-0 to Stuttgart. Correct score 1-0 could be an option here, 8.50, because Stuttgart have something to play for in the Bundesliga as well as the Cup, so kind of weighing that up. The Stuttgart to win, it just looks good to me. I think at 170, I think that's the way to go.
All right, first half draw, 𝐿𝐴𝐴 and the Stuttgart, both teams to score, so the bookies expect a final of Bayern Munich, Stuttgart in the Olympiastadion in Berlin. Let's see if Leverkusen or Freiburg can beat the odds. All right, let's switch into the Bundesliga like this. Perfect
Magic.
And we have everyday game in Germany. Also on Friday, of course, RB Leipzig, Union Berlin. We saw a lot of headlines about Union Berlin and the first defeat in the charts for Ita as the manager of Union Berlin, female Union Berlin manager, and was against a relegation struggler like Wolfsburg. Is only 1 win in the last 6 for Union Berlin. RB Leipzig touching now the Champions League spots. Is 6 wins in the last 7 games, 4 consecutive wins. Great win in Frankfurt. So the odds are nothing. Basically, it's only 1.3 for Leipzig.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a possibility of a safe bet here. I know Union Berlin, they lost under Marie-Louise Etta's first game in charge, but they actually were much the better team than Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg scored a wonder goal to get things going, and I think their XG was barely anything compared to Union Berlin, but that's the way things happen in the Bundesliga. Sometimes the worst team sometimes comes out on top, and yeah, hopefully she can get some wins between now and the end of the season. But they are 6 points clear of relegation, so they should have that kind of gap between them and the teams in the bottom 3, so that she should be able to pick up enough points between now and the end of the season to make sure they're safe. RB Leipzig, they have a lot going on. They're 5 points ahead of 5th, so yeah, they just need to keep playing the way they're playing, and they'll be back in the Champions League next season. 4 wins in a row, like you said. So yeah, this RB Leipzig team is kind of on fire at the moment. They beat Frankfurt 3-1 last weekend, like we said on the show, to expect that that will be an over match and Leipzig to win, and that came in. So hopefully more of the same again this weekend. Total goals over 3 could be an option here, 183, because even though Union Berlin did lose last week, they were able to get on the score sheet. They've had both teams to score in each of their last 3 games. RB Leipzig and both teams to score looks a good option at 270. But if you want to go a little safer, RB Leipzig win and over 2.5 total match goals, which came in last week. We're going for it again, 180.
All right, 2-1 correct score for 𝐿𝐴𝐴, Leipzig to win and both teams to score. Let's see if Marie-Louise Etta can do it better in her second game in charge. Saturday games, Augsburg, Eintracht Frankfurt. Riera's men trying to get into the 7th spot. Right now, 1 point behind Freiburg after the defeat that we mentioned against Leipzig. And Augsburg, Ronan, nothing to play for, but they got a big win in Leverkusen that no one expected.
Yeah, they kind of need everything, kind of every team in Europe to win the tournaments and the cups. Freiburg maybe to finish outside the top 9 or something in the league to get into Europe. So it's kind of hard for Augsburg to have anything to play for. But yeah, Frankfurt, they're a point ahead of or a point behind Freiburg in the table, and they know finishing 7th would be enough for Europe if Freiburg don't win the cup, which they might know by the weekend. Obviously, Freiburg could be knocked out of the cup by the weekend, so they might know that just getting more points than Freiburg will be enough to get them in, because that cup position then will be pushed down to the table, the next best position in the table. So yeah, Augsburg 3 defeats in 3 games without defeat, score draws with Hamburg and Hoffenheim, and then that win over Leverkusen, very impressive last weekend. Whereas Frankfurt, their form is all over the place. Draw, win, loss in their last game. But they have had both teams to score in each one. The most common result here is a 2-1. Smart bet is going for total goals under 4.5 at 125, which is a very unusual safe bet to go for maybe this week. That one stood out to me as an unusual one. Under 4.5 total goals. You never really see that. But if any league is going to have a game with over 4.5 goals, it's going to be the Bundesliga. So maybe the AI could be wrong on this one. I do like the look myself of total goals over 3, because that's 186. So maybe if we get the 5 goals, we'll have over 3 goals. Frankfurt win just looks good, because Augsburg, like we said, they don't really have anything to play for. Frankfurt are still trying to get that European spot. Frankfurt to win at 280, and a bit safer than that. Frankfurt Asian handicap 0, it's 205. So if it's a draw, at least you get your money back.
Okay, well, also the smart bet tool was suggesting under 2.5 goals as a second choice, with the odds much higher, like 2.4, 2.5. Next game is Cologne and Leverkusen. This is a derby, and Leverkusen, as we analyzed before, completely focused in the Pokal semifinals. It's going to be very difficult for them to finish in the Champions League spot. They have a 4 points gap with Stuttgart after the defeat with Augsburg, and Cologne with +5 with relegation, 4 draws and 1 win in the last 5 games. Still need to get 3-6 points to be absolutely safe this season.
Yeah, you'd imagine they will be safe, but you obviously like that security blanket, and Leverkusen will like the security blanket themselves of knowing they've been in Europe, because a win would guarantee them Europe next season, because they're 10 points ahead of 8 and 9 ahead of 7, so a win should guarantee them their place in Europe next season. But they, like you said, they still have one eye on the Champions League, and I'd say their best hope probably at the moment is that Bundesliga teams can win a couple of the European competitions, win all the matches from here on in Europe, and then overtake Spain for that extra spot to get a Champions League spot, to make it 5 Champions League spots. So it's very tight at the moment. So anything could happen in the next kind of few weeks between now and the end of the season for that second team. England obviously are guaranteed the 5 places, 99.9% I think at the moment. But yeah, Spain and Germany are battling out for the extra Champions League spot next season, and depending on who wins the Champions League or how the results go, we will see who gets that one. So Leverkusen will be hoping that maybe Bayern Munich can win the league. I know that Leverkusen fans might not admit that, but they want Bayern Munich to win the Champions League. That's it. Leverkusen here, I'm confident that they can do something and score goals, because they need to. Leverkusen have won the last 4 meetings between the two sides. They've scored 2 or more goals in each of those. So Leverkusen over 1.5 total goals themselves is 167. But even better than that, I'm very intrigued by Leverkusen over 2.5 goals themselves, which is 310.
Okay, away win this one for 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵. Away win is 1.88. Next game, this is for the relegation battle, Heidenheim. St. Pauli, very important, of course, for St. Pauli, 2 points more than Wolfsburg and -5. With Werder Bremen, so very likely going into the play-outs. No wins in the last 6 for them, 3 defeats and 3 draws. Well, very likely going to the play-outs, Ronan, or directly to Bundesliga 2. They need to get a win here.
They need a miracle between the end of the season, I think. Yeah, only 2 points ahead of 17, but 5 from 15. Yeah. St. Pauli win in this match would actually relegate Heidenheim, so there is a lot on the line in this match. So St. Pauli win 308. Maybe it's worth having a look at that, because Heidenheim have been terrible all season. So why should that end here? I know that they were able to get a couple of good results recently, but is that too little too late? Will the pressure get to them at the last moment? Because they need lots of results between now and the end of the season, and they are running out of time. There's only 4 game weeks left, including this week, so it's not really going to happen for them. Smart bet first half, St. Pauli at 365. I also like the look of. I didn't write that in my show notes, so it's not going to come up on the screen, but yeah, it looks like a good one that the AI has picked out this time. It was 2-1 to St. Pauli in December. Heidenheim have had both teams to score yes in each of their last 4 games, so total goals here could be a market we're looking at, as always in the Bundesliga. Total goals over 2.5, which tends to come in Bundesliga, is 198. A friend of mine last weekend on Sunday asked, would he go for both teams to score in all the matches on Sunday? And yeah, it did. Came in, and yeah, all those matches had plenty of goals. So yeah, because this match is such a kind of a tense, nervy match, I'm actually looking at the corners market for a change. I know I don't always look at that, but we sometimes have people in the comments asking about the corners market. It's obviously a bit trickier to predict than some of the other ones, but because these are two fairly bad teams playing each other in what could be a very nervous match, over 9.5 corners is the market I'm looking at 2. It's come in 53% of the time so far for St. Pauli, only 38% of the time for Heidenheim, but yeah, I think this could be a one where there's plenty of corners, because there'll be plenty of late tackles, plenty of long range shots, plenty of action around the goals, but maybe not necessarily plenty of high performance or high level shots being taken from these two teams.
When 2 really bad teams meet, usually is a draw. So the draw is 3.45. It's not bad at all. Are you gonna watch this incredible Heidenheim St. Pauli, Ronan? Something to do on Saturday, 2:30 for you?
I think I might have one of the other games lined up rather than this one. I'd say the broadcaster that chooses the English language broadcast probably is not going to go for this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, do something else. Nothing to play for in the next one. Mainz, Bayern Munich. This is a sandwich game with nothing to play for Bayern, as we explained. They are playing Pokal semifinals and then Champions League semifinals. They just won the title, so you would think this is the best time to face Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. But the thing is, Ronan, that also Mainz has nothing to play for. They finished the season last week in the defeat against Strasbourg in the conference. So yeah, maybe we saw many goals as always in Bayern Munich games.
Yeah, maybe Bayern Munich can get all the goals they need. They only need 16 goals to match Torino's record from the top 5 leagues. That's 125 goals in a season from 1947-48, where they played 40 games. So they have 6 games fewer, but you wouldn't bet against Bayern Munich scoring 16 goals in the next 4 weeks. They only need 4 goals a game, and they're well capable of doing that. So yeah, they only need 1 more goal to get into the top 10 from the big 5 leagues. So that will definitely happen this weekend, because they always score. Yeah, 35th German championship for Bayern Munich, 13 of the last 14 Bundesliga titles. So yeah, they will be in a celebratory mood, like I said, for a while, but they have to kind of delay that until they win all the other competitions they're in. So 𝐬𝐿 could be an option here if he starts to do something, because he is the first player or the only player in the big 5 leagues this season to get 13 goals and 13 assists. And there's been a lot of talk on social media, because Bayern posted that he's the first player in the Bundesliga to do it, and Borussia Dortmund are digging out stats from Jadon Sancho and Marco Reus. I'm not sure how exact some of those stats are, but to dispute this, him being the first. So I'm not sure whether he's the first, but he's definitely done it this season. Like you said, PSG and Bayern is the big one on Tuesday. Bayern should rotate heavily. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw loads of the young players play here, some of the teenage guys that we've seen already this season. Vincent Kompany has played 8 different teenagers already this season, so wouldn't be surprised to see some of them get more match experience between now and the end of the season, as Bayern Munich focus on every other competition with the Bundesliga wrapped up. It was 2-2 in December in Munich, and Mainz won 2-1 at home last season, so Mainz Asian handicap +1 could be an option here. Maybe they can keep it close, maybe they can get a result. But because I think this is going to be a Bayern Munich rotation game, we will see someone not called Kane start up front, and that will be Nicholas Jackson, and him as an 8-time goal scorer is 2.10, because you can usually guarantee Bayern Munich are going to score goals. he probably is the most likely player to score goals if there's a lot of kids playing around him. So Nicholas Jackson, anytime goal scorer.
Okay, Carl, to give an assist could be an option also. He will have some minutes in this.
He's been injured for the past few weeks, so there's no guarantee he's going to start. Yeah.
Okay. Then check the lineups. Someone is asking about the League and Game PSG, and we have a video for this, Darrell. So if you want, check it out, because Alain gave you a tip for this game, also for the 𝐻𝐞𝐿, by the way. Next game is Wolfsburg Gladbach here for the relegation battle. Wolfsburg -2 with Pauli finally won a game. As we mentioned before, it was against Union Berlin. So they have to win this game. They are favorites against Gladbach, also in crisis. 3 draws, 1 defeat in the last 4 games. Gladbach are not safe yet, but I guess it's going too far putting Wolfsburg as favorites here, since they won last week, but the previous win, Ronan, was ages ago.
Yeah, the start of January was the last time they'd won before that match last weekend. So yeah, Gladbach are in crisis, but when are they not in crisis this season? They always seem to be having some sort of mini crisis. They go from crisis to crisis, it seems like, in the Bundesliga. So yeah, this season has been diabolical for Gladbach. They really should be doing better than when they were there. They should not be in the conversation to be in a relegation battle at this stage of the season. I know they're probably not going to be in the battle. Bremen, Hamburg, and them themselves all have the exact same amount of points, and it's 7 points ahead of Wolfsburg, and so 5 points ahead of St. Pauli. But Wolfsburg, this is the kind of match that they should be looking at as somewhere they can pick up points between now and the end of the season, because they have a couple of tricky fixtures coming up, Freiburg and Bayern in the next 2 games. They then play St. Pauli on the last day of the season, so that could be a very interesting one. Hopefully it'll be a very interesting one and won't all be decided before the final week of the season, but because that makes it more interesting for us gambling on it as well as watching it on television or whatever. So yeah, Wolfsburg, yeah, they had been on a terrible win, but hopefully that win over Union will give them confidence. Gladbach, they haven't won in 4 games, 3 draws in that period. Both teams to score, yes, here is only 154, which I'm not sold on as an option to bet on, because I don't think the odds are great. So I'm going to go for both teams to score in the second half, because I think it will be one of those nervy games again, like we said the last match would be. So I think this is one with teams that maybe are more capable of scoring goals than the last 2 teams we mentioned. So they'll put it in the net rather than out for a corner. So both teams to score in the second half at 275.
Okay, 𝐻𝐞𝐿 draw, I think also screams draw. This one 3.7 with Gladbach already this season, 10 draws is a lot. And the last game we have on Saturday is Hamburg Hoffenheim, Hamburg +5 with the relegation with St. Pauli, lost to Bremen and to Stuttgart, winless in 5, and Hoffenheim somehow they are back in the Champions League fight. Great win against Dortmund, even if they were in a really, really bad run. They are now in the 5th spot. And remember that maybe Germany have 5 teams next season in the Champions League. It's still very open.
Yeah, it's still very open for them to even get top 4. They're only 2 points behind Stuttgart, so there is a chance they could get there. And they are playing before Stuttgart this weekend, so yeah, that may give them a chance to move into the top 4 before Stuttgart play and put a lot of pressure on Stuttgart. They won 4-1 at home in this game in December. Hamburg will be happy about how this season went. St. Pauli will probably get relegated. Their local rivals, they will stay in the Bundesliga, so it's probably the dream season for Hamburg, really. This, aside from back in the 70s when they had success and 𝐿𝐵𝐾𝐿 played for them. But yeah, in the last 10 years, I suppose this is a very successful season for Hamburg. Hoffenheim win, I like the look of here at 187, because like we both said, they are going for that Champions League place. Hamburg don't really have a lot to play for. But I'm looking at an individual market. Andrej Kramaric, he scored 2 last week against Borussia Dortmund. He now has 12 Bundesliga goals. So I think that puts him in the top 4 or 5 top scorers in the Bundesliga this season, because Dennis Undav is second on 18 goals. So yeah, if he got another few goals between now and the end of the season, maybe he can finish in that top 3 for for the season in the Bundesliga. I know he has been playing a small bit deeper than he has in the past, but it's Andrej Kramaric. He's always capable of scoring. He takes penalties sometimes. So him as an anytime goal scorer, 240. I really like to look up against Hamburg.
Let's Hoffenheim win is the tip from 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵, and we have 2 games on Sunday. Stuttgart, Werder Bremen. Stuttgart fighting for the Champions League spots, as you mentioned, only +2 with Hoffenheim after the defeat against Bayern, and Werder Bremen beat Hamburg, and they are now +5 with the relegation almost safe. Well, Stuttgart to win is almost a safe bet as well. It's 1.5.
Spoilers.
Okay. I didn't know it.
Yeah, read ahead. I haven't gone for Bayern Munich as a safe bet this week, but yeah, if you're waiting to see what a safe bet, it could be anything. We're not going to tell you necessarily what it'll be, but yeah, I think Stuttgart, they won this one 4-0 in December. This is what they're going to be playing for to finish in the top 4, top 5, get in the Champions League. They will know, like I said, Hoffenheim will probably have won, so there'll be pressure on them to win this one. But I think they're well able for the pressure, and Seb Hones, their head coach, is well able for the pressure. I see he's been linked with Real Madrid in build there this week. So yeah, so they're really think highly of them. He's really thought highly of worldwide. Stuttgart Asian handicap -1 is 182, but Stuttgart, I know they've lost to Bayern and Dortmund in their past 4 games, but the other 2 matches they have been excellent in. They beat Augsburg 5-2, they beat Hamburg 4-0. I wouldn't be surprised if they've scored 4 goals again here. So I'm going for Stuttgart Asian handicap -2 at 340.
And the last game is Dortmund Freiburg. We've been talking a while about German football, and we haven't mentioned Dortmund because they are on holidays. They've been away for a while, and it looks like that with the results in the Bundesliga. Lost to Hoffenheim and Leverkusen in the last 2 games, and Freiburg, I guess also they don't care that much about this game, having the Pokal and the Europa League. They have an amazing chance to get into the Europa League final, playing Braga in the semifinals. They are favorites. So who cares less about this game, Dortmund or Freiburg?
Freiburg, I think. I think we're going to say Freiburg are going to care less because, yeah, this is such a historic chance for Freiburg. If they won in the cup, great, and they will be focused on that somewhat, but they will be all focused fully on the Europa League semi-final because, yeah, like you said, it's such a great chance, such a great opportunity. For Freiburg have shown that they are capable of going to the final and winning it. They've been excellent in the Europa League this season, and that's probably the benefit of this new kind of league phase format that we see, so that the teams from the Champions League aren't dropped into the Europa League, so they don't have some better English teams or better Spanish or Italian teams kind of dropping in and giving them headaches in this latter stage. So long may it continue, and long may Freiburg and things like that get this deep into European competition. So yeah, the Dortmund win is only 148, or was only 148 when I looked last night. It's now 162. I think that could be an option as a safe bet actually this week, despite the fact that Dortmund, like you said, have nothing to play for. Dortmund still are a proud team when they're playing at home. Most common result is 1-0 in Dortmund. They have 1-0 in 37% of their games this season. So I think they could win 0 again here, because I think Freiburg will be so focused on the match on Thursday that it doesn't really matter. They're not going to turn up here. They're not going to want to get injured. They are not going to do anything in this match. So Dortmund to win 0 is 260. And I also think Borussia Dortmund could win this one 3 or 4-0 because of the fact that Borussia Dortmund will have a point to prove. Some of these players will have a point to prove. Do not sell us, because there should be an overhaul in the summer. Yeah, we are good enough to play for Borussia Dortmund in the future. Do not replace us. We can show you what we can do against a Freiburg that might be distracted themselves. So Borussia Dortmund over 2.5 goals is somewhere around the same at 250.
Okay, we have a smart bet for this game is under 3.5 goals, but the odds are quite low. It's only 1.57. So maybe it's even good to go for an over indeed. All right, plenty of football in Germany. We've analyzed everything: Bundesliga, Pokal. So you have now the chance to bet or to publish your tips in Oddspedia if you don't want to spend money. So check out our tipster competitions, completely free to participate and with the chance to win money. We have this monthly, and we have also rivals where you can create your tipster league or join the ones that are created there. You can see also the prize pool. Ronan, safe bet?
You know it already. My safe bet this week is Stuttgart to win at 158.
And ACCA?
My ACCA, I'm going for total goals over 2.5 in 3 different games. So I'm going for total goals over 2.5 in RB Leipzig, Union Berlin, Augsburg, Frankfurt, and Stuttgart versus Bremen. That's a total of 344.
All right, goals in the Bundesliga, of course. Thank you, Ronan. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.